December 9, 1983. A Cuban refugee named Tony Montana steps onto American screens, snorting cocaine, murdering rivals, building an empire on blood and powder. Scarface wasn't a success story, it was a warning, one that audiences completely ignored. The movie became a poster, a t-shirt, a cultural touchstone for hustlers who missed the entire point. Tony Montana wasn't meant to be admired, he was meant to show you the cost. Today we're breaking down 15 brutal truths about Scarface and the cocaine era it depicted. Truths about power, paranoia, and the lie that money equals freedom. This is old school America. Welcome to the machine. Truth 1. The Mariel Boatlift was chaos disguised as freedom. April 1980. Fidel Castro opened the port of Mariel. Anyone who wanted to leave Cuba could go. 125,000 people flooded into South Florida in 6 months. But Castro wasn't generous. He emptied his prisons, his mental institutions. Between 16,000 and 20,000 of the Marielitos had criminal backgrounds. Miami wasn't ready. Background checks didn't exist. Law enforcement was overwhelmed. Refugee camps under highways had no rules. Criminal networks formed immediately. Tony Montana's arrival wasn't unique. It was part of a wave that permanently destabilized a city. Scarface begins not with opportunity, it begins with disorder. Truth 2. Oliver Stone wrote it while addicted to cocaine. The man who wrote Tony Montana's Downward Spiral was living it. Oliver Stone was deep in cocaine addiction when he penned the script. He researched in Miami, in the Caribbean, in Colombia, all while high. I did all the research for Scarface on cocaine, Stone admitted. I understood that world better than if I had not done it. Then he fled to Paris, locked himself away, wrote the entire script cold sober. The paranoia Tony feels, the grandiosity, the self-destruction. Stone didn't imagine it, he channeled it. And hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, go ahead and hit subscribe and like the video. It keeps more reveals like this coming, and we really appreciate it. Hit the button? Great, let's get back to the video. Truth 3. Miami became the murder capital of the world. 1979, 349 murders in Miami. 1980, 569 murders. 1981, 621 murders. Every year set a new record. 50% were drug-related, 25% from machine guns. The morgue ran out of space. They rented refrigerated trucks from Burger King to store the overflow of corpses. Miami wasn't just dangerous, it was apocalyptic. In 1981, Miami had a higher murder rate than New York, higher than Chicago, higher than anywhere in America. Time magazine called it a failed state. Scarface didn't exaggerate the violence, it documented it. Truth 4. Griselda Blanco made Tony Montana look soft. Forget Tony Montana. The real cocaine godmother was a 5-foot-tall Colombian woman named Griselda Blanco. At her peak, her network moved $80 million worth of cocaine every month. She pioneered the motorcycle assassination. 2 guys on a bike, passenger fires, driver speeds away. That technique is still used worldwide. Blanco was connected to at least 250 murders in Colombia alone, possibly as many as 2,000. She killed 3 husbands. She killed business partners. She killed a 2-year-old boy by accident and was glad about it because they got even. Pablo Escobar said the only person he ever feared was a woman named Griselda Blanco. Tony Montana was fiction. Griselda was real, and she was worse. Truth 5. Violence was the entry fee. Tony doesn't rise through intelligence, he rises through brutality. In the cocaine trade, violence wasn't optional, it was required. Deals weren't enforced by contracts, they were enforced by fear. The chainsaw scene? Based on actual torture methods documented by federal agents. Scarface shows this clearly. Hesitation equals death. Mercy equals weakness. The moment Tony proves he's capable of killing without remorse, doors open. This wasn't Hollywood exaggeration, it was standard procedure. Truth 6. 70% of America's cocaine came through Miami. By 1981, Miami wasn't just a hub, it was cocaine. 70% of all cocaine entering the United States came through South Florida, 70% of marijuana, 90% of counterfeit quaaludes. The drug trade brought in $20 billion a year, more than tourism, more than real estate. The Federal Reserve in Miami reported a cash surplus of $5 billion. Banks stayed open late to count drug money. Cocaine wasn't Miami's biggest business. It was the only business that mattered. Truth 7. The mansion was a prison. Tony's mansion looks like victory. It isn't. By the time he reaches the top, he's surrounded by guards, cameras, paranoia. He can't move freely. He can't trust anyone. He barely sleeps. Real traffickers live the same way. Success didn't bring freedom. It brought confinement. The bigger the empire, the smaller the world. That black marble palace with the gaudy office and the bathtub in the bedroom, it's not a fortress, it's a cage. Truth 8. Paranoia wasn't madness, it was survival. Tony's paranoia is often mocked, but in the cocaine era, paranoia was rational. Partners betrayed partners. Brothers betrayed brothers. Entire crews vanished overnight. The DEA was building cases. Rival cartels were making moves. Internal power struggles meant danger came from every direction. Griselda Blanco's hitman, Jorge Ayala, killed 36 people. For her, then he turned state's witness. Tony's mental collapse isn't caused by cocaine alone. It's caused by living in a world where everyone is expendable, including you. Truth 9. There was no retirement plan. One of the biggest myths Scarface destroys, the idea of getting out. Tony talks about control, about power, about reaching the top, but he never talks about leaving, because there was no exit. Traffickers didn't retire. They were arrested, assassinated, erased by their own organizations. Griselda Blanco spent 20 years in prison, got deported to Colombia, and in 2012, 2 men on a motorcycle shot her in the head outside a butcher shop. The same method she invented. The cocaine era was a conveyor belt. Once you stepped on, it only moved one way. Truth 10. The film was almost rated X for violence. Brian De Palma's Scarface was initially given an X rating by the MPAA, the same rating as pornography. De Palma had already recut the film 3 times. He refused to cut it again. "I've had it with these people," he told the press. He brought the film in front of law enforcement. They testified the violent scenes were accurate depictions of Miami's drug trade. Educational even. The MPAA finally relented, but barely. Scarface wasn't exaggerating for shock value. It was showing the truth. And the truth was rated X. Truth 11. Loyalty was always temporary. Tony demands loyalty, but he doesn't inspire it. Fear replaces trust. The moment Tony weakens, his entire structure collapses. This mirrors reality. Loyalty in the drug trade lasted only as long as money flowed and power stayed balanced. Manny, Tony's best friend since childhood, gets killed by Tony because of a misunderstanding. Scarface doesn't romanticize betrayal, it normalizes it. Because betrayal wasn't the exception, it was the rule. Truth 12. Cocaine fueled its own destruction. The drug that made Tony powerful is the same drug that destroys him. Cocaine amplified paranoia, aggression, impulsive behavior. Many real traffickers self-destructed long before law enforcement reached them. Griselda Blanco became addicted to bazooka, unrefined, smokable cocaine, the same product she sold. Scarface shows this progression clearly. The higher Tony climbs, the faster he falls. Success accelerates collapse. Truth 13. Miami's Cuban community tried to stop the film. When Scarface came to Miami to film, the Cuban exile community said no. They saw the script. A Cuban refugee turned cocaine kingpin. They called it slander. The Cuban-American National Foundation demanded changes. They wanted Tony Montana to be a Castro spy, wanted anti-communist politics injected into every scene. The producers refused, so Miami refused them. Most of Scarface was shot in Los Angeles. Ironically, some of the real cocaine cowboys, guys actually moving weight, thought the controversy was hilarious. They went to see it opening weekend. Truth, Cheddarpad Smith. Audiences completely missed the point. Somehow Scarface became motivational. That was never the intent. De Palma and Stone built a tragedy, but audiences latched onto the fantasy. The excess drowned out the warning. Tony Montana wasn't meant to be admired. He was meant to be studied. Hip-hop embraced him. Rappers quoted him. His poster hung in dorm rooms across America. The "Say Hello to My Little Friend" scene became iconic. Not as a moment of desperation, as a moment of power. The message got twisted. The cautionary tale became a blueprint. Truth 15. The ending was inevitable. Tony's final stand is often seen as heroic. It isn't. It's exhaustion. A man with nowhere left to run, nowhere left to hide, nothing left to protect. He's high on cocaine, paranoid, alone. His wife left. His best friend is dead. His sister is dead. And he stands in his mansion, his prison, with a grenade launcher. Say hello to my little friend. It's not defiance. It's surrender disguised as bravado. Scarface doesn't end with victory. It ends with inevitability. Because that's how the cocaine era worked. Nobody won. They just delayed losing. Tony Montana got everything he thought he wanted. Money, power, respect. And he lost everything that mattered. Scarface wasn't a celebration of the cocaine era. It was a documentation of its collapse. Oliver Stone wrote it while battling his own addiction. Brian De Palma directed it to show the cost of unchecked ambition. Al Pacino played it as a tragedy, not a triumph. And somehow the world turned Tony Montana into a hero. That's the most brutal truth of all. The warning was always there. We just chose not to listen. If you want more deep dives into the dark side of American history, subscribe to Old School America. Drop a comment. Let me know what era we should cover next. This is Old School America. Stay sharp.